I'm going to be straight with you. Buying a gaming laptop that's also a 17-inch workstation can feel like a gamble. You're hoping for smooth frame rates, a screen that actually shows you what you're playing, a keyboard you don't have to stare at, and a battery that won't die the minute you get into a raid. At the same time, you're wary of overpaying for a machine that ends up being more of a desktop replacement you can't move easily. That's why I spent a good chunk of this week digging into the HP 17-inch model, reading the spec sheet, checking what people are saying in the forums, and testing a few games that matter to most buyers. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the most obvious thing about this HP is its size. The 17.3-inch HD Plus touchscreen gives you a fairly large canvas for games, but the resolution is only 160:0900. That's a step up from 136:6768, yet still a ways off the full HD or higher panels you see on many premium gaming laptops. In practice, the lower pixel count means you can push higher frame rates without taxing the GPU as hard, which is a subtle win for the i7-1255U inside. The processor is a 12th Gen Useries chip, 10 cores, 12 threads, 12 MB of L3 cache built for efficiency rather than raw power. It's great for multitasking, streaming your gameplay, or running a few background apps, but it won't match a dedicated Series i7 or a Ryzen 7 mobile. If you plan to play the latest AAA titles on ultra settings, you'll be throttled quickly. If you're mostly into esports, indie games, or older AAA releases, you'll find it surprisingly competent. One of the first questions I asked myself was, can the laptop actually stay cool when you're in the middle of a match? The HP uses a dual-fan cooling system that's fairly standard for laptops of this size. In my 30-minute test runs of Fortnite and Valorant at medium settings, the fan spun up to a noticeable whine around the 70-80°C mark. The heat was felt more on the underside of the chassis than on the palm rest, which is a relief for longer sessions. However, you'll notice the fan noise in a quiet room. It's not a gentle hum, more of a steady whoosh. If you're sensitive to background noise, you might want to keep a headset on. The cooling works well enough to keep the CPU from throttling, but you won't get the kind of silent operation you might expect from a thin Ultrabook. Keyboard feel is another real-world factor that often gets glossed over in spec sheets. This HP has a backlit keyboard with a decent amount of travel, not as deep as a mechanical board, but enough to give you tactile feedback. The spacing is generous, which helps when you're reaching for the WASD cluster during a fast-paced shooter. The backlighting is a single-zone white, which is functional, but not as customizable as RGB rigs that gamers love. In practice, the keys are reliable. I didn't see any ghosting when pressing multiple inputs, which is crucial for combo moves in games like Mortal Kombat. If you're a fan of mechanical switches, this may feel a bit soft, but for most casual to semi-hardcore gamers it's a solid compromise. Battery life is where the trade-off becomes obvious. With a 1TB SSD and 64GB of DDR4 2666 RAM, the laptop has plenty of storage and memory to handle multitasking without a hitch. Yet, that same power draw means you're looking at roughly 3 to 4 hours of mixed use, a few YouTube videos, some spreadsheet work, then a short gaming session. Plug the charger in and you're fine, but you shouldn't expect to game for more than an hour or two on the go. For a laptop that's already on the larger side, the weight hovers around 6.5 pounds, making it more of a stationary workstation you can move occasionally, rather than a laptop you'll carry around campus all day. Now let's talk about the display experience beyond the raw numbers. The touchscreen support is a nice add-on for Windows 11 Home, letting you navigate the OS with a swipe or pinch zoom without needing a mouse. In games that support touch input, think Minecraft, or some indie titles, it adds a bit of flexibility, but it's not a game-changing feature for most shooters. The panel's brightness is decent for indoor lighting, but you'll notice washed-out colors if you try to game in bright sunlight. The narrow bezel gives you a bit more screen real estate than older 17-inch models, which makes the overall footprint slightly less bulky, but you still need a decent desk space for it. Port selection is surprisingly generous. You get a SuperSpeed USB-C port that can handle data and power delivery, 2 regular USB-A ports, an HDMI 2.0 output for hooking up an external monitor, and a headphone jack. For gamers who want to connect an external mouse, a controller, or a second display, you're covered. The HDMI output can drive a